Hi and welcome back to the farmhouse. I'm Deanne from Hummingbird Acres. Are you tired of buying chicken broth from the store with all of that sodium and whatever else is in there that you can't pronounce? I know that we were. So I did some research and I figured out how to make bone broth, which is just like chicken broth, in an Instapot. We save all of our vegetable scraps and our bones, our chicken bones, and we throw them in the Instapot with some water and we let it go. And when it is done, we have gorgeous bone broth that we can use in soups and in so many other dishes that we make on a weekly basis. So today I'm gonna show you guys how we make bone broth in our Instapot. To start our bone broth, I am going to dump in a bunch of chicken bones. Anytime that we have chicken thighs or really any bone-in chicken, we save all of the bones. They go in a bag in the freezer. We just continue to add to it. When it's full, then I make bone broth. So these are some chicken bones from, I don't even remember when, but I'm going to dump them in our pot. And then I'm also going to dump in a bunch of veggies. These are veggies that either were getting kind of old and we didn't want to use them, or they're scraps from when we were cutting up carrots or anything like that. So they also go in a bag after we cut up all of our scraps and go in the freezer so that we can also use them for bone broth. So I'm gonna dump in, I might not dump in all of these veggies, but I'm gonna dump in a good part of them. Yeah, that's okay, leave it there. Some of the things that are in here are broccoli and celery. I will sometimes put carrots in, onion peels, any like really hearty vegetable you can use in your bone broth. Now that I got in all of my veggies and my chicken bones, I'm going to add water and I'm going to fill this up within 1 inch of the max fill line. I really want to make sure that all of the bones and all of the vegetables are covered in water. Okay, now that I have the water in there, I'm gonna add the secret ingredient to make this bone broth amazing and to make sure that it gels. And that is some apple cider vinegar. So I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to my Instapot. The apple cider vinegar is going to help break down the bones and the marrow to make it a really good and hearty bone broth for you. So 1 tablespoon in, I am going to close up my Instapot. Maybe. There it goes. Make sure that you close the seal. And then I'm gonna do pressure cook on high, and I wanna pressure cook it on high for 2 hours. Okay, a little over 2, but that's okay. So now we are going to just let it sit on the counter here, let it do its thing, and we'll come back to it in about 2 hours. So while this bone broth is cooking and cooking under pressure, let's talk a little bit about what you can use it for. We love using our bone broth in soups. Our favorite is a chicken noodle soup, which I'm going to make later this week. We have a soup that we love called, it's a light stuffed pepper soup. It actually tastes just like my mom's stuffed peppers, which is why we love it so much. But you can also use this dish in any casseroles that you're making. Sorry, not dish. You can also use the bone broth in any casseroles you're making. If you are making rice, instead of putting water in with the rice, you can put bone broth in. It just gives the rice a better flavor. So many different options for your bone broth. Let's also talk about some of the benefits of bone broth. So bone broth has accumulated or had the reputation of being better than Botox. It is so much better for your skin. It has gelatin and collagen in it, which make your skin nice and plump and make it look really healthy. So bone broth is definitely the way to go if you're trying to live a more natural life like we are. There's so many benefits of having bone broth and drinking bone broth on the daily, if that's what you choose to do, or just using bone broth in your everyday recipes. In order to get a high concentration of collagen and gelatin in your bone broth, you want to make sure you have the correct ratio of bones to water. For your Instapot, you're gonna have to kind of test it out and experiment to see what exactly is the best ratio for bones to water in your bone broth. You'll be able to tell if you have the right ratio if it has that nice thick gel band on the top once it cools down. If it doesn't have a nice thick gel band on the top, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. It is still jam-packed full of great nutrients that you can drink and use in your recipes, and you will be all the better for it. So the bone broth has been under pressure, or it's been cooking, I should say, for 2 hours. So now you have two choices. You can either be done and strain it off, or you could run it again. I would suggest, if you have a lot of bones in there, that you run it again. This was actually a small batch of bones for us, so I am not gonna run it again. I'm gonna get everything set up to strain it off and put it in some mason jars. These vegetables are now really worthless. They wouldn't be good in compost. They really wouldn't be good for anything. They have no nutritional value in them. So they're gonna go in the trash today. All right, let's see how much more I can pour without making, whoa, that's hot, without making a mess. So you can see kind of what's left in there. It's all smushy and yucky, but it made some really good bone broth for us. So let me strain this out. If you still feel like there are a lot of big particles in your bone broth, you can strain it again. I'm not going to. I think it's fine just the way it is. So on to get mason. So like I said, I am notorious for making messes in the kitchen. So I am going to use a funnel. This is just one of my canning funnels. And we are going to put our bone broth in these half-gallon mason jars. Our half-gallon jars are amber colored. Yours don't have to be. This is just kind of what ours are. And we do like the amber ones because they do block out the light, which kind of makes the bone broth last a little longer, in our opinion. So I'm going to pour this in ever so carefully. And this is why I should do it over the sink. Okay, let's try this again. Maybe I'll make less of a mess. Okay. So we choose to store and preserve our bone broth in mason jars in the refrigerator once they have completely cooled, but you can also pour the bone broth into ice cube trays and freeze them. You can also can them. They have to be pressure canned, but that is another option for you when you are looking to store and preserve your bone broth. We just put them in mason jars and put them in the fridge. We have extra fridge space, so that's what works for us. If you want to know more about how to make bone broth in your Instapot, I highly suggest you jump on over to our website, hummingbird-acres.com. I have a full recipe over there for you and a step-by-step tutorial all on how to do it if you need some more information. But I want to thank you guys so much for visiting the farmhouse today. Please make sure that you like this video and hit subscribe so that you can be notified anytime that I upload a new video about homesteading, gardening, natural living, and from scratch cooking. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you guys soon.